I done came a long way. I'm only taking one step at a time towards healing myself. I had to get out, I found a way out. No more living in pain or misery. It's all about protecting my energy. Keep the negative away from me, because I am just keeping my peace. Cut off everything that no longer was serving me, and I chose to start loving myself. I walk in my purpose, no looking back, I'm only going within. B.O. standing there, a better version of me. I must say that I'm proud of me. It's not about how you feel, I'm living proof that God is real. So let me show you how to heal. Damn it, I'm wearing it well, cause I came a long way. My journey isn't yet complete, that's what it look like to heal. Damn it, I'm wearing it well, I'm proud of myself. It's nothing to it, you can do it, all you gotta do is just fight through it. Creative soul, creative soul, creative soul. Just fight through it. Creative soul, creative soul, creative soul, creative soul, yeah, yeah.
Welcome to Pain to Purpose podcast, where we have open discussions to heal together as a community. Today, we have Officer Bill here with us, and we wanted to shed some light on domestic violence with an officer to get clarity. I know a lot of people have questions about some of the scenes, some of the situations that they've been in, and we want to make sure that we are well educated with this discussion before we end the series. So let's welcome Officer Bill. Hi, Officer Bill.
Hello. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I know that you guys are very busy, always out there helping the community. So I appreciate you taking this time to come on with us.
Of course. I'm here to help.
Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just a little bit.
I am a police officer for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I have been on the department for going on 9 years. I have worked out of the downtown area command. As of right now, I am working out of the academy.
Okay, great. So I have some questions, Officer Bill.
Okay.
Okay, so I've listened to a few people in the situations that they've had,
Okay.
and I've listened to some of the questions that they've also had.
Mm-hmm.
So I have them here, and I'm just going to ask you those questions. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have these same questions. So hopefully this will help them.
Okay.
So, how does police respond to domestic violence calls? It's not the same every time, right? Because every situation's different.
Correct. So it's kind of hard to determine like what you're going to walk into, how the situation's going to flow. So any call, domestic violence is no different from any other call. You never know. The details on the call sometimes are different from what's being told to the dispatcher or the way it's being relayed. So until you get on scene, you never know what you're going into.
Okay. What info can you give victims to prevent domestic violence?
It's kind of hard to say, um like, how I'm going to tell you how to prevent it. My like it's when you're in a situation, when you start to see the red flags, my advice would be to leave the situation. But sometimes you don't see it coming. Sometimes a person just snaps one day, and next
Mhm.
thing you know, you're a victim of domestic violence. So it's kind of hard to tell a person how to prevent that from happening to them, because most times it catches them by surprise. So that's a really hard question to tell anybody not to be in, because you don't know most of the times when it's coming, or when it's going to happen, or how it's going to happen.
Okay. Now, are there things you wish people would know or understand before calling the police? Like information they should be giving when they call so that you guys have clarity and know what you're walking into? I know you're not going to know everything, but
So a big thing to me is, like, for example, when the domestic violence starts off and it's just verbal only, that's a sign being that you felt like you had to call the police when you're just simply going back and forth with a person. Now,
okay.
we're not there to tell somebody they can't argue, because people are going to argue. But when it gets so intense that you feel the need that you have to call the police to mitigate the situation, well, I guess that leads me back to the last question. That's a way for you to prevent it from happening, from you actually being a victim of domestic violence, full blown, where you're actually harmed or the other person's harmed because you felt like you had to protect yourself, or they feel like they have to protect themselves. I would say, when you're going to call the police, just know that it's documented. So every time you call, we have a document of how many times you've called the police, whether it was verbal or not, whether somebody went to jail or not. There's a document that makes it clear that this has been a problem for domestic violence at this particular address.
Okay. Now, how does police look at male victims?
A male victim is no different than a female victim. It doesn't matter what your gender is. If you're a victim, you're a victim.
Okay. And this so the same actions will be taken.
Correct.
Okay, that's good to know. What happens when a victim calls the police and then they decide to go back?
As police officers, we can't tell you how to live your life. We can't. All we're there to do is to protect you from whatever situation you may be in. We're there to give you advice. We're there to advise you of how to get out of the situation, provide you resources, things to that nature. But we can't tell you how to live your life. So if you're calling us again, it's like, okay, we're here again to protect you from the situation. We're going to give you the same information. We're going to provide you like a victim's information card. We're going to advise you of how to get out of the situation. But I mean, if that's what you want to stay in, and sometimes it's not even that the victim wants to stay in it. Sometimes they don't understand that they can let the police know that they don't know how to get out of it, and like, it can be confidential, and we can remove them from the situation, and the person will never know where they went. And a lot of times people don't realize that they're attached to trauma bonds. And with the trauma bond, some people don't understand that you feel like this person loves me because they're doing this and that to me. And sometimes it's things that they seen from childhood, where they seen daddy beating on mama or mama beating on daddy, or because this person's now yelling at me, or this person's now putting their hands on me. This is the only way I've been shown that is the way to love on a person. So they feel that it's okay. And lo and behold, it's not. It's not. So a lot of times people need to heal from other situations or other traumas that they have in their life, so that they don't keep getting into these trauma bonds.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I mentioned some of those things in my book, Tears of a Shattered Heart. And then we've also been talking about it on the podcast about learning to love yourself and
Hmm.
having the confidence that you need and knowing that you are enough so
Yes.
that, you know, when you get with someone and you feel like this isn't right, or you feel like this person isn't treating me right, or you're
Right.
in a situation where sometimes we don't love ourselves and we end up in situations where people don't deserve us.
Right.
And so we've really been talking about that on the podcast. So I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, and it's not, and there's nothing wrong with it. We all make mistakes, and as
I've been
police
there.
off yeah. As police officers, the really disheartening part for us is when we show up to court and now we have this person who we felt like we were protecting, and we got the person arrested, and now when it comes down to going to court and we're sitting in front of a judge, either A, the victim doesn't show up, or B, the victim says that we're lying. So it's
Okay.
disheartening for us, and it's hard to keep, unfortunately, dealing with the same person when, if we go to court, you're not going to back us as we're trying to back you and protect you. That's really where it gets frustrating as officers, because we're like, we came here, we came to help you, we arrested this person, we told you how to get out of the situation, but then when we go to court, you make it like we're lying, or that what we put on our report is not what happened.
So what happens at that point? Like the person's just released and it just goes in a file and that's it.
Yeah, normally they don't end up getting prosecuted. What happens is it normally just case gets dismissed, and there's nothing that we can do as police officers. And what people fail to realize is that with domestic violence in the state of Nevada, like the first one's a misdemeanor, second one's a misdemeanor, and then the third one's a felony. So if
Okay.
you're going to keep saying, oh, nothing happened, or this person didn't do this, or whatever, or not show up to court, then it gets dismissed. Then when they do it again, they're back to the first domestic violence, because you did not, unfortunately, do your part as the victim, showing up to court, or actually saying what actually happened when it came down to appearing in front of a judge.
So once it's the third time, that's jail time.
Yes, that's when it becomes a felon.
Now, are they able to bail out sometimes?
It really depends. It really depends on the circumstances. It really depends on who the judge is. Unfortunately, we don't decipher that as police officers. We just
Mhm.
make the arrest, and whatever the judge decides punishment is what the judge decides. Whether it's I know that a lot of times they make them go to community service or take some type of domestic violence classes, things to that nature, but that's not decided by us.
I think sometimes men and women, we're going through our situations from our past or still holding it in, not healing from childhood traumas, and then hurt people.
Right?
And
Right?
so I do believe that sometimes people that are abusers, whether they abuse people mentally, physically, emotionally, verbally, or sexually, that has happened to them
Yep.
in some shape or form. And because they're either in denial or they don't believe in counseling,
Right.
they don't get the help they need. So then the cycle continues.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, we've got to look at ourselves. We have to break these generational curses.
Which is true.
And
Which
I
is
think
true.
a lot of that happens in our community.
Yes. Yes, unfortunately. And it sucks. And it sucks. And I just don't um think that people understand how, even as police officers, how it makes us feel when it gets to that point and now we have a dead body. You know what I mean? And we went to this call and we've seen this person so many times. We've had this conversation with this person so many times, telling them how to get out of it. What people fail to realize is a lot of times police officers take that home. And because we're looked at like this person who's just there to arrest people. And no, like we start to build a rapport with these people. We start to know who they are because we're
Mhm.
working that area, and we get this phone call, and now it's that same house. And then when the it ends up being that house where now the victim is now killed. Like, it sucks to have to respond to that type of call. And I don't think
Yeah.
people understand that.
Yeah. You guys have a heart too.
Yeah, yeah.
You feel just like we do.
Right. And then now you go home and now you're carrying this load at home because you're questioning yourself, could I have done more for this person? Did I not give this person enough resources? Did I not do enough to prevent this person from being killed?
So if a person feels like they can, like if say you went to a home and the person's scared, they feel like they can't tell you right then, I'm scared, I want to leave. Is there a certain number that they should call when they're away from the abuser to let you
So
guys know, like, I do need the help?
so what we do is we do give out it's called a blue card, and it has like
Okay.
information, it has whatever officer they spoke with signs it, and there's numbers for them to be able to call.
Okay.
So we do give out resources for them to be able to call if they feel that they can't have that conversation right then and there.
Okay. Now, the information that you give them, is that something that they also can find on the internet, or these like private numbers just for situations like that?
No, they can find it on the internet. They can go to
Okay.
protectthecity.com and the information will be there.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And we can also attach it here too as well.
And
But go
they
ahead.
can also go to like um the family justice court. Like, we have where we now give out like this QR code, and they could just
Okay.
scan the QR code and they could have it right there on their phone, and they can submit anything through there, to put like protection orders in place, things to that nature. They can do it right from their phone, right online. But again, a lot of times the victims don't do the protection orders and things to that nature because they don't want the abuser to then retaliate. But it makes it worse because now it's like, if the abuser did come in your presence once the protection order is filed, then we automatically get to would arrest that person because they're
Okay.
violating the protection order. But
Okay.
most times nobody puts protection orders in place.
And those are normally good for like 6 months, right?
Right. So if they feel that they need an extension, they can request for an extension on it.
And so if a person continues to call during that time, then the victim has to contact the courts.
Correct. If they keep if well, so if the person keeps like making contact with them or doing anything, they can call the police. We'll file a report, and then what'll happen is it'd be forwarded over to our detectives, and then our detectives will begin an investigation. Then a warrant would go out for that person to be arrested.
Okay. So they would just need to show the proof of the phone
Correct.
call list
Correct. And then
or
also,
or emails. Okay.
correct. Or even if they show up to their home, they could record them in front of their home if they don't have any camera system outside of their home, or just take a picture of them out front outside of their home because they have to stay 100 yards away from their residence.
Okay. Okay. So thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to say to anybody out there that is in this situation?
I would say when the help is provided, to do what you feel is best for yourself. If you feel it's to the point that you're unsafe and that you have to call the police, it might be best to stop the relationship.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on here. Hopefully, I pray that this helps people that are in this situation. For my audience, remember It's only pain until you discover your purpose and realize that you need to be on your healing journey. Until next time, I'll see you next Monday.